Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for attending the Women's Forum's Fireside Chat, where we are honoring this year's winner of the Savvy Award, Rachel Bean. Last year's winner, Stacy Caprioli. And Luana Watkins, my fellow trustee and chair of the selection committee this year. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Cindy Rosenberg, outgoing trustee. I'm the chair of this year's Women's Forum. So let's meet this year's award recipient, Rachel Bean. Rachel is a passionate leader with over 20 years of experience in the real estate and valuation profession. As Director of Collateral Policy for Fannie Mae, Rachel's team establishes and maintains policy standards for property eligibility and appraisals, while also supporting inclusion and equity. Before that, Rachel led a team of valuation professionals who were responsible for managing the quality and accuracy of appraisal products procured by a panel of over 500 appraisers. She played a fundamental role in the origins of the Appraisal Diversity Initiative, aimed at supporting aspiring appraisal trainees. Originally from California, she holds an appraisal certification in Arizona, where she now lives. And prior to working at Fannie Mae, Rachel held consulting and management roles with various financial institutions. Thank you to our panelists and thank you for everybody for attending.
So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I am absolutely thrilled to be able to interview this year's award winner. I think it's very telling to start by reading to you a quote from the nomination for Rachel. The person who nominated Rachel told us that Rachel has used her influence at every level to promote the growth and celebrate the inclusion of women in this profession. Rachel co-founded the Appraiser Diversity Initiative and provided the vision and energy that led to the complete solution that it is today for those seeking to enter into this profession. Rachel, first off, congratulations. Our committee, we were just blown away by your nomination and all of the incredible things that you have done. As highlighted in your nomination form, someone nominated you anonymously. They didn't want the thanks for nominating you, and I think that's very telling. But yeah, we were both blown away by everything that you have done to advance women in this profession. And so I just want to start off with a congratulations, and I think we can give Rachel one more big. So to start this interview, I just kind of start at the beginning. What led you to the appraisal profession?
Great question. But before I tackle that, I would love to just really express my gratitude. When I received a call, I get a call from the foundation. I'm like, oh, what's going on? Right, it's on fire. And I learned in the same day that I was nominated, that I also received the award. So it was overwhelming, and I'm just filled with gratitude. To receive an award like this at this point in my career from the Appraisal Foundation, which is our leading organization, it means so much because I'm so passionate about the work that I do. So thank you so much to the committee. Thank you to the Women's Forum, and thank you to everyone that is in service of the work that we're doing.
Excellent.
So what drew me to the appraisal field?
Yes.
Well, great story, and I'd love to tell you, but it started with a busted ankle. Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't.
Right, right, I know, right? So, so in my early 20s, I worked at a bank, and in this bank, Palm Springs, California, appraisers would come and go. And I just thought they were the coolest, right? They would bop in after an inspection, sit at a desk for a couple of hours, and then they would leave. And so I spent my time at the bank kind of hovering around them, trying to figure out what they did, begging them to take me out with them on an inspection. And that was really my opening to the world of appraisal. And fast forward a couple of years later, I had moved to Arizona. I was still working for the same savings and loan, but on the mortgage side. And one of the appraisers that worked in the office slipped and busted his ankle at an inspection. And it was during a peak period, and so his services were needed, but he couldn't drive, but he could get around. And so I raised my hand very quickly and convinced the manager to let me drive him around to inspections. And that's really what kind of started the fire in me, was that introduction. And within 4 years, I have my certification.
Wow, that was certainly a unique entry into the profession. Okay, so that's how you started, but walk us through your very impressive career thus far.
So I was with the savings and loan for 16 years. So for those of us that have been around for 2 or more decades, that was often the way that we had trainees get to licensure, is they worked for banks, and banks had panels of appraisers. And I was fortunate enough to have that experience. Anybody else have that experience in the audience? Because it was, because you really learned quality. So I'm very grateful for that. But the housing crisis happened, and I found myself exposed to the industry. And so during that period of time, I did some field work, I did some consulting work. I did a small stint with the FDIC as a temporary worker. If anybody has a chance to do that, if they ever come to your city and need appraisers, I would encourage it, because that was really interesting and fun. And then in 2010, I landed at Fannie Mae. And at Fannie, I've done all kinds of things. I've sat in several different chairs. When I first started, it was in the middle of the REO boom. And so my job was to manage the REO in Arizona, as well as the REO panel. And so I'm fortunate that every step that I have taken as an appraiser has kept me close to the industry, and I've been able to stay close and engage with appraisers. So I feel really fortunate about that. But in the past 5 years, I've been really focused on collateral policy, as well as being part of the Appraiser Diversity Initiative team. This team is fantastic in the work that they do. So I've been really focused on that.
All right, so this appraiser diversity initiative team sounds very interesting.
Yeah,
Can you
so
tell us a little bit more about that?
absolutely. So, and a lot of folks in the room have heard us talk about this before, and we have so many sponsors in the room with us today. So the Appraiser Diversity Initiative, or ADI, as we like to call it, is an initiative that is focused on bringing diverse new entrants into this industry. It was started 6 years ago, and it is ran by 4 core partners. You have both GSEs, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. You have the Appraisal Institute, and also the National Urban League. And so those 4 core partners, along with a host of sponsors, help to really move this initiative forward. And what the initiative does is it gives scholarships for the education. But some of the most powerful pieces are the combination of putting a trainee with a mentor or an advisor to help them through the process of going through the training and what it means to become an appraiser and making those connections. So I'm really proud of that work. And I think it's important to mention the new offering that ADI has, which is very exciting. The newest scholarship offering is a designated scholarship program that has been launched by the Appraisal Foundation and Kelly's leadership, and where they have pledged $1.22 million for Korea. Let's give a big hand for that. So I looked across in this room and this industry, and I'm so excited and just really humbled by the amount of support we have for the type of work that we're doing. It's so important.
Yeah, so it sounds like obviously this ADI team is advancing diversity in general within the industry. But tell us about your passion for advancing the interest of women in this industry.
Yeah, so I have a real passion for this. As I mentioned, I've been an appraiser for 2+ decades. And in those early
You
years,
started when you were 5.
yes, yes.
Yes.
let's say that.
Yes, I
But
started when I was 6.
Yes.
so-
in those early days, and we have seen a lot of change in the past 5 to 7 years. I mean, the amount of women we see in leadership today is so exciting. But in those early days, I can remember being a young appraiser, going into continuing education classes and being one of 3 women in a class of 35 to 40. And so that was really early in my career. And so that played a big, that really stuck with me. My personal belief is that diversity of thought, diversity of perspective, diversity of experience is so important in all areas of life. That's how we get smarter. So I really believe that, and I want to be part of that change in the industry.
That's good. That's good. Well, clearly you have succeeded in being a part of that change, and that's what brings us all here today. So congratulations on that. Where do you see the future of women in this industry?
I kind of want to say the future is now, right?
That's good.
Yeah, the future is now. I think for all of us, for women, for all appraisers, we need to think of a future that is inclusive, and also that is innovative. It's going to be important for all of us to really wrap our arms around technology as we grow into a more innovative space, and we see things shifting around us. So I'm really hopeful for that.
So in terms of the future, we're gonna embrace technology. We've talked about scholarship opportunities. We've talked about some of those things. What else can you envision us doing to support the entry of women into this profession, as well as sustaining the presence of women in this profession?
So I think for entry, 3 things. I think awareness is huge. Just getting out and talking about this as a career is very important. I think being mindful and really tackling the barriers we have to entry. And then I think support is the 3rd one. How do we support each other? And that really goes into existing appraisers and women in the field too. Something I really focus on and believe in is intentional connection. And this may not be splashy, it may not be fancy, but it's the moments that you connect with one person, one woman to woman, and talk about what you're seeing, what you're experiencing, and sharing those stories, and really lifting each other up. There's so much power in that. We have a lot of committees, we have a lot of organizations to join, and we should definitely do that. But we should also take time to intentionally connect.
All right, so speaking of intentional connection, you may have noticed we have a 3rd woman on this stage with us, a powerhouse in her own right. I would like to welcome last year's Savvy Award winner, Ms. Stacy Caprielli, to the stage for the official passing of the glasses. And so this glasses thing runs deep, y'all. I like a good theme. So you see glasses here. We almost gave Stacy some sunglasses to wear because we are serious about the glasses. And so for those of you who don't know, this award features glasses in tribute to its namesake, Edie Yeomans, who was always known for her fun and colorful eyewear. This process impacts you in very interesting ways. I did not personally get to meet Edie and work with her, but I've heard so many amazing things about her. And in anticipation of this trip, I've heard so many fun Edie stories that I literally selected my eyewear today with Edie in mind. So she has impacted us professionally and personally, even those of us who did not have the honor and the privilege of working with her. So Stacy, welcome. Thank you for being with us again.
I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so happy to be sharing this stage with you, Rachel.
Stacy, it's wonderful for you to be here again. We're thankful to have you here to pass the glasses. It was very inspiring last year for me in particular as a new presence in this room to hear your incredible story. So since we have you here, we're gonna take advantage of your expertise and insight. Can you share a little bit with us about what the Savvy Award has meant to you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. First, I have to say, Rachel, you saying that you think appraisers are cool. We think very similarly. But when you said that, I was like, that's not usually the path that people say to being an appraiser. Last year, this past last year has been a whirlwind for me. Winning the first Savvy Award, I know last year I mentioned I got the call from Cindy and I just cried. With joy. I was so excited for the opportunity to represent women in valuation. And it's given me the opportunity to feel bolder in my choices this year. It's valuation industry can be hard to navigate and just really started to branch out and be bolder with my choices. Kind of adding to what you were saying, Rachel, about, support and connections. I also feel that we just have to try to, make our choices and lead with example and growing the women in this industry, making the choices that are the best for yourself, for your families, and for the industry so that we can grow and be stronger. I've had a lot of those opportunities this year. I've had a lot of opportunities to attend trainings and, groups and retreats and get to have a seat at the table where I've been able to contribute more. And I'm so very thankful for that, for this award. And it's just been really, really impactful on my life.
So you talked about growing. How do we support the women who are here? Stacey, what do we do? What are all of us? What do we do to support the women in valuation?
I think that's a great question, and that's one that I had mentioned to Rachel, when we spoke the other day, that, we have such strong voices and experience here, and we can contribute in a really powerful way, that we need to join the groups, join the, committees, be really involved in different parts of where we're going. And, Michelle said to me, I don't know if Michelle's in the room, but she said, "You're everywhere." Last night, and I said, yes, I want to be invited to the party. I want to support the women in the room. I like to attend speaking events where I'm supporting someone else. I have been, given the opportunity to be the speaker, but I also want to go and sit in the room and ask important questions and make sure that the women that are also contributing feel my presence. I think that we just have to really push with continuing our diversity initiatives and like you said, connecting, just having conversations. I mean, it's really, really powerful. We're dealing with so much on a daily basis that sometimes just being able to reach out and talk to someone who's experiencing the same types of things can really help you grow.
And so you're not just talking about it, you're being about it. Obviously, you're saying, I'm in the room with Michelle, you're here with us today. So we appreciate the fact that you didn't rest on your Savvy laurels. You
That's
did
not my
not.
side.
Yeah. Seem to put wind in your sails and you've taken it to the next level. And so we thank you for honoring the spirit of Edie Yeomans and doing that spirit great justice by being all the more energized and all the more present and providing that support. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you all.
Yeah, so I think it's time now for the official passing of the glasses. So I'm gonna ask Stacy to pass the glasses to this year's amazing recipient, Rachel.
So one little thing is we have been given these charms, which is so very, very beautiful. And they have our names on them in the year that we won our awards and the Savvy Award. And so what we'll be doing is clipping them onto the chain, and then I'll pass it to Rachel, and then Rachel can continue the tradition of pinning this and passing it next year. And I think it's just a really beautiful gesture that you guys can. My name is.
Should I go wherever you'd like to go? Should we go around? We'll go around.
Up to
Next to
you.
each other.
Yeah, I
Support.
think we'll go next to each other so we can be supportive.
I love that. I love that. Very nice. Thank you so much, ladies. So, and we're gonna carry this connection theme, so now we're gonna connect with you in the audience. Rachel has graciously agreed to answer any questions that you may have about any of the topics we've discussed. So questions, who's first? Don't all raise your hands at the same time. Thank you, Lee.
So Rachel, the word on the street is, I'm just kidding. Is that, in beautiful leadership style, you're handing over your baby to new leadership. What's next for you?
Can I repeat that question for those in the cyber world, joining us? The question is, Rachel is handing over her baby to the next generation, and so now we want to know what's next for you.
Well, first of all,
It's not on.
there we go. So first of all, ADI is such a team effort. It has been led by Denise Jernigan, since I would say probably April-ish. And she's been doing a fantastic job on the Fannie Mae side, but it's such a collective effort, right? And so, yeah, I have been in ADI for 6 years, and it's time for it to grow in a different and new way. And so, that team is still in my organization, and so we all talk very frequently. So I'm still very close, yeah. But very proud of the work that they're doing today, and very proud of where they have gone. So for me, I continue to sit in my seat in the collateral space, focused on policy.
I think that's a great sign of leadership that you can hand it off, seeing it still continue to blossom, knowing that you have prepared them to be able to carry forth your vision for ADI in your absence. So great sign of leadership on your part. Next, who do we have? Oh, don't be shy, y'all. Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Robbie.
So how do you feel about this new recipient?
I feel, I was very overwhelmed when Cindy called, because I understand the background of this beautiful award. So I feel so privileged and so grateful. I'm excited for the year ahead. And I've offered my services to Kelly. Stacy and I are talking about it. The award is beautiful, and I'm so grateful, but the work continues, right? We continue to be inclusive. We continue to connect intentionally, and we continue to talk about these topics.
Yeah, you two are quite blazing quite the trail for future Savvy Award winners. It is clearly not a sign of the fact that you have won an award and now you are content. It's as if you are now being crowned and moving forward down this path of a new trail and new work to be done in the industry. And so I'm excited about the fact that you are setting the standard so high for future award recipients and making sure that they understand that the work begins when you win the award, not concludes when you win the award. Who's next? Yes, Madam President.
Savvies. What can women do in particular, and you from your platform on this stage to build public trust in this beautiful profession?
And just to repeat that really quickly, our president has asked, about the very important issue of building public trust from this particular platform. Stacy or Rachel, either of you?
Yeah,
Both of you?
I'll jump in and hand it over to Stacy. Yeah. That's a great question. Public trust is so important. One of the things that, I think is fascinating, when we talk about this as appraisers, when we all get together, is how people don't really know what we do. They don't know the details of what we do. They don't know the data that's available. They don't know all of the little details that we complete as appraisers, right? Especially in the mortgage industry. So I think it's important to be transparent. And I would love to see us in a place where we were more vocal and sharing the, intricacies of what we do day in and day out. I'd love to see us move into that place.
It's still the word right out of my head. Transparency for sure. I think that we have an opportunity, and if you have a platform as a woman in this industry, that you should be as transparent as possible. I tend to lean towards trying to educate the public. Like Rachel had mentioned, there is not a very great understanding of the depth of the valuation industry from the consumer perspective. So taking kind of some opportunity to pull in lunch and learns, pull in training sessions, working with lending partners, to make sure that they are understanding and communicating with their borrowers so that they understand all of the processes, and just really providing them the insight into what we do, and also showing them that we really enjoy what we do. And that's really important to me. I mean, I like to be out there and telling people I'm a valuation nerd. I love it. So, like, if they see that we have a passion for it, that I think that can help build the trust. It really can.
And it's cool.
It is cool.
It is cool. It is cool. And thing that you got me thinking too is it's so important for us to talk about this, right? And to talk about each other and share the stories of the things that are happening out in the industry that are positive. Share each other's stories in a way that continues to spread the momentum of some of the work that we're doing.
Yeah, talk about each other when we're not in the room.
Yes, in a positive way.
Right.
Next. Yes, ma'am.
I've got a three-part question. What has been your most challenging part of your roles? The second part of that, what did you learn from that experience, and what advice would you have to others?
Okay, so three-part question. What is the most challenging part of your role? What did you learn from that? And what is the advice that you would give as a result?
That's a really great question. I think throughout my career and the different roles that I've held, it became kind of, I wouldn't say a challenge, but you're not always going to be the smartest one in the room. And I think that that was something that became kind of my challenge over the years, is that I may not be the smartest in the room, but I will step away and I will learn. And the next time I come back, I'll have the answer. And so it really has shown me over the years that even if you're at a table and you don't know the right response at that time, or you don't know the right action, have it as a takeaway and go and get educated on it. Take a different course, gauge what you're doing and how you want to move forward. And it's really been a good learning experience to be able to say, I took my challenges, I took my blockers, and I turned them into just more robust knowledge.
I love that you talked about learning, and that's so important. And I think for all of us as appraisers, we learn every day, because every assignment we have is a little different than the one we just did, right? I would say, great question. Challenge, everything that surrounds real estate appraisal is very detailed. So there's a lot of nuance, and we have a lot of complexity, especially when you think about national versus state rules and regulations. And so I find the details sometimes, I lack patience to really go through all the details, because I like to move fast. And so for me, that has been a challenge. But when I slow down and I listen, and I'm more measured, I find I have a little more success. So patience is something I try to practice, but it's hard because I get excited.
Great answers, great answers. Who's next? Come now, come now.
Okay, I got a question.
All right. I was waiting, Frank, I was waiting.
I like the idea that you think appraisers are cool. But it took you a long time to reach that decision. Or make that observation. How do you make appraising cool? Or how do you get youngsters, people in middle school, high school, to think that appraising is cool? Or more importantly, appraisers are cool.
Well, I'm already there.
Can I repeat that? 'Cause that's the, for those of you listening online, Frank wants to know, it's great that we think appraising and even more importantly, appraisers are cool. But how do we get young folks in middle school and high school to think that way?
So, yeah, I'm already there. I think we're pretty cool. And I think what we do is pretty cool. But I hear you, right? And a lot of times we work in silos too, right? And so there's not a lot of awareness. One of the cool things at ADI, and there's other organizations that are also doing this work, is going to high schools and talking about the work that we do and really leaning into the different variations that you can, the different variations of activities and inspections and those types of things that you can come across in your career. So that's one of the things that I think is probably beneficial, but we could certainly be more active as a group in a positive way.
I also think that most kids have a phone in their hand all the time, or are on some sort of device. And I think that there are some really excellent, exciting lifts to the appraisal world that are happening around us every day. And during those visits to schools or being more active in the schools is showing some of this cool technology that we have. I mean, we can scan homes by just standing in one room and spinning in a circle. And so we have this technology, and I think that that's lost kind of on the translation of what we do, is that we are moving with the time. And I think we could definitely do better at being in front of younger people to transfer that knowledge and show them that it's exciting.
I almost want to answer, but I'll keep that to myself.
Go ahead, Joanne.
I think that as women, we know that sometimes our biggest obstacles can be other women, actually. What advice would you give, or how do you respond to, I always go back to, as a very young appraiser, I heard the advice, terrible advice, once of know your place and quit being so loud. Which people in the room don't know me, but I don't do that very well. And so how do you respond to that kind of thing? How do you respond to those women that think we should be
seen and not heard?
demure?
So for the benefit of the audience, let me see how I'm gonna rephrase that. What happens when, we as women may not be the best, supporter or partner for our fellow women? I'm gonna leave it there.
I'm definitely not a quiet person. I don't hold back in my roles. I am opinionated and I am consistent and compliant, and I have that going for me. But if anybody ever kind of told me to step back, I think I would have to communicate that in a kind way. I think there's a way to be kind about it, but there's also a way to say that, not everybody walks the same path. And if someone is not on your team and not your supporter, just showing them what you're doing, showing them the exciting stuff you have going on, being positive about it. I know, like, we can't kill everything with kindness, but at the same time, when people understand what you're working on and why you're doing it, they tend to really start to understand you as a person more, in my perspective.
Yeah, your voice is so important. All of our voices are so important. So do not squash that. For sure, 100%. You know, I have had that experience, in my career once or twice. And I always use it as fuel. You know, tell me what I can't do and watch me do it, you know? So I would encourage that.
Very good. Who's next? No more questions? Lunch is not gonna be served until 12 o'clock. Lee does have another question.
Well, I think this is a one that young people might also wanna know, what's, other than being around somebody who breaks an ankle. Or the appraisal diversity initiative, what are some other ways that young women can break into the profession? And also, you kind of touched on it, what are some other careers within valuation other than appraising that they might be interested in?
And the question for the audience was, you know, what are some of the other places within valuation profession that young people might be interested in, and kind of how do you get them here?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. In doing some of the work for the Appraisal Diversity Initiative and helping in those areas, I found that it's really important to start advertising in colleges and high schools with opportunities to come and sit in on our events, which I think is a good benefit for younger people to learn. You know, providing them the ability to come to a training event, even if they're not really focused on it right now, but they're kind of interested, and letting them know that, you know, it's an opportunity, a free opportunity to watch what we do in action. I think that's really important. I also feel like, you know, going into the high schools is really a big impact right now, because that's what other professions do. They go into the schools and they have their booth and they walk people through it. So I think that's really impactful. You know, it's challenging because not everybody breaks an ankle and gets to drive around. But I do think that we could be more present in areas, different areas to have outreach. As for the other roles in the profession, I feel like I've held every single one of them. Teaching is really important, educating. You can educate and build policy, and you can be a trainer. There's so much that we can do in this valuation world where we're not just in the field all the time. So I think there's a lot of outreach that we can do.
Question.
Did you have, I'll come to you in just a second. Did you have something to add?
I would just say, Lee, great question again. And I think it also goes back to what Stacy's talking about, is the awareness, right? And it's all on us to talk about what we do, right? So I think that's a huge piece of it, yeah. But I talk to women appraisers all the time, and appraisers across this nation are doing really interesting things when we go through economic cycles like we are in, right? And I've heard of folks that are specializing in drone photography and using that as another avenue for income, or possibly, you know, offering to measure per ANSI standard for realtors, right? So there's other things that I see people doing that are fascinating. So I think there's a real resiliency in our profession.
And I'm coming to you in just a second. And what I was gonna say, Frank, that I just declined to say is what Stacy has basically said. If these young folks can't see it, they probably won't be it. You've got to figure out a way to show them what an appraiser does. And I don't mean tell them about it or brochure, or they gotta see it, that it's the broken ankle. They gotta be in the car, they gotta be in there, they gotta measure the property. Quite frankly, I think young people would love a job where they're not dealing with 40 people in a boardroom. They like solitary work where they can go out and use technology and do what they do. I'm speaking as someone with young folks that I'm raising. And so I think if you present it to them that way, they will gravitate to a solitary performance of a job where technology is involved, where I don't have to always be on a phone and meeting with people. that's how I think you reach young people. Yes, sir.
Thank you. For the first one of this prestigious award, my question is for you. How successful has ADI been in recruiting women? And if you know, what percentage of your participants are female and how successful are they at getting through completing the program?
That's a good question. I don't have the statistics on the women specifically. Rachel, you might have a little bit better idea. I can say I participated and spoke at an ADI event in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is my home state. And 90% of the people there were women. And they had a really good outcome from applicants and outreach that even in my home state, an additional diversity initiative has come about to expand, and they have now taken on 6 women trainees in their local market. So even just from having a little bit of outreach and some advertising in your local communities, people are interested in trying something new. And I think that, you know, women specifically, we want to drive our own path. And so kind of getting them the opportunity has been really important. So, you know, figuratively and metrics based, I don't know, but I am seeing the growth on a daily basis. And I can say that the panel that I oversee is a lot of women, which I love.
Thank you.
And for the benefit of those in the audience, the question was, how successful has ADI been in recruiting women particularly? Yes, ma'am.
I can give you some stats on Korea.
Oh,
51% are women.
that's awesome. And the answer from the audience was for Korea, 51% of the participants are women. Okay, we may have time for a couple more questions. Yes, sir.
Hi, Sven Bernard. I actually can say that I do have a successful candidate from the ADI program that's currently working with me right now, working towards getting her certified general, even though she'll probably get her certified residential first. But there comes to a very interesting point that it's kind of come up as a very hot topic, and it's something that kind of hit me yesterday when we were having a conversation yesterday regarding engagement in terms of diversity. Men are in crisis. And what I mean by that is that men are kind of checking out, where women are actually kind of coming more into the role. Having said that, there's still us older guys who don't know how to better engage, not being old. Well, you're not me, Frank. You're not. How do we engage of this? Because I myself have a lot to thank for women and as I was coming up, in terms of just me working with the Women's Initiative, through the Appraisal Institute and also through similar situations in the IRWA. I found that there has been kind of, how can I say this? 50-50 results. I'm coming up in a situation where I myself have had to go out with women because they wouldn't speak to them. For instance, hotel owners of a certain ethnicity would not speak to women. So I would have to ask the questions for them. So I totally 100% empathize with women, but now as we're coming up to a situation where there are more women in graduate and post-baccalaureate programs than men, how do we better engage them in terms of getting into the profession?
How do we better engage the men?
No,
Oh, the women.
the women, because they're the ones that are immediately coming up.
And so, I wish those of you online had heard the full story because, there was a lot of really good information in there. And background for the question, but ultimately the question is, how do we engage, the women, to get into the profession? So this question goes specifically with engagement. And so I'll turn it over to you ladies.
I think that's a really great question, and I see that there is such a lift in women joining the industry. And I think that the engagement really starts with pulling out a chair when someone new walks in the room and letting them sit with you. I think that we can tend to silo ourselves in our groups of, who we work with the most or any organizations we might be with. And I think it's really important to reach out to women who are interested in being in this profession and show them all of the different things, all of the different functions that we have, all of the different committees that you can join, and really give them that understanding that this is a kind of a build your own path type career. Nobody's journey is the same, and we see that all the time, and I think that's an intriguing thing for women. If we can just show them that, you don't have to go to one specific channel. There's commercial, there's residential, there's art, there's so many different things that you can specialize in, and opening up the door and inviting them in.
I would just say, thanks, Smith, for the question. I would just say, I've been so fortunate in my career. I have had two amazing mentors in my life. One was a woman and one was a man. So I have felt supported by men throughout my entire career. So I'm very fortunate in that way. And I'm grateful for that. I would say to the bigger question, just being honest and being kind and listening to each other, just human decency are all the things I think anybody's looking for. Honestly, yeah.
Excellent. So I'll take another question if you have one. Yes.
I want to hear from both. I'm sorry, Rachel and Stacy. What are the two coolest things about being an appraiser? To the young women who are listening out there who may be considering appraising as a career.
So I think this is a great, I think last question. This is a great way to end for our two savvy women, our savvy award winners, to tell us the coolest thing about being an appraiser.
So I think there's two cool things. Obviously I'm a nerd, well, we've already established that, right? But I think there's two cool things. First of all, the people. The people in this industry are amazing. The connections that we have to each other, even though we are in varied roles, I think are really strong. And we come to conferences and we connect and we talk about hot topics and we do it in a way that is important, and we're all looking to move things forward, right? And we remember that we're human. And then the second thing is just the work itself is fun. It's different. Every assignment is new, and I find that to be very challenging, and it keeps you motivated. So yeah, those are two cool things.
I think those are cool too. I think that kind of in addition to every assignment is different, you get to see things that you would never see. I've experienced places and travel and properties that I had never even thought about. And it's really, really interesting that one day you can be at home in your community doing a house down the street, and then you're traveling somewhere and you're, shadowing someone who's appraising a hotel. And it's very much variety, and it's never boring, never boring. And I just think that also the collaboration, and really at the end of the day, I love helping people. And, when you appraise a house, you're helping someone close on a dream in a lot of cases. So it's cool to think of it that way.
So I think that's an excellent place to end. I want to say, first of all, Stacy, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for setting a standard of excellence as our first ever Savvy Award winner. And thank you for passing the glasses to this year's Savvy Award winner. Rachel, you are absolutely amazing, and I want to again say congratulations to you. And I'd like for this audience to give you a round of applause. everyone. This concludes our women's forum. Will you have any closing remarks for us, either Madam President or Cindy?
I just want to thank our panelists and everybody, please join me in showing your appreciation. Join us at lunch where Rachel will formally be presented with the award. And I also want to thank a heroine of the Women's Forum who deserves recognition behind the scenes. Jalen, would you stand up? Exception to today's event, everything the Women's Forum has accomplished is a result of Jalen's behind the scenes dedication, creativity, commitment, and energy. So I thank you so much for supporting this committee.
And they can't one after each other.
One last thing before we leave the room. Everyone, I'm so sorry, just where you are for 1 second. We have to applaud our moderator. In the back, we have to applaud Joanna Watkins. Yes, I asked her, could she do this? There was no hesitance. She did it with grace, and I appreciate her for this. Please join us for lunch. It is across where we had the happy hour last night.